podcast. Hi everyone. I am just getting live now on all the platforms. Got some music going while we wait for folks to join us. So if you're here, welcome. Hi, hello. We're going to be talking today about abundance. Very important topic when it comes to money. And what is abundance? We're talking about how to define it, or whether even a definition makes sense, what it means to people in this community. And for those of you who are new to our community, let me introduce myself quickly. So I'm Adina here from Immigrant Finance. Welcome. At Immigrant Finance, our mission is really to be empowering more immigrants and their family members to learn how to be building wealth and building power, doing so by learning how to manage money, how to start investing, and how to start and grow businesses, specifically online businesses, as a way to increase income. And I come from this work from my experience having gone through the whole process of trying to navigate the U.S. financial system when my husband, Mauricio, immigrated here from Ecuador in 2013. And we really struggled to figure out finances. We were living paycheck to paycheck. We couldn't afford to do almost everything. And there was no information we could find out there on the internet about finances for immigrants or in any of the personal finance books. So we started sharing what we were learning as we went on our own building wealth and money journey. And we have since grown the platform to have met so many amazing people here who are in similar situations. First people in their family to be investing, first people in their family to be starting businesses, first people in their family that are claiming their abundance and saying, I want to have more and I deserve more, and that's okay. And so it's been such a wild ride and so exciting to connect with so many of you on this topic. And today I wanted to talk about what is exactly abundance when we talk about abundance, and why is this something that can be confusing or even hard to define. So the way I first started hearing about abundance and how many of you may be hearing about it is if you're following personal finance pages or reading personal finance books, is it's sort of the opposite of being in scarcity. So you hear about scarcity mindset and abundance mindset. Scarcity mindset is when you're living from fear, you're always focusing on how you don't have enough, you're always worrying about money, you're always worrying about paying the bills, right? And you get really stuck in that way of thinking. And for a lot of immigrants and their family members that I talk to, that's something that's been passed down for generations, just part of the struggle of the immigrant experience. And I know I've certainly gone through that as well, being a couple of generations down from my immigrant family, how that has really played out in terms of always fearing not having enough. Right? I've talked about that a lot on the podcast. And when we talk about this, so what do we actually mean by abundance? And I haven't had a chance to sit down and really explore that with you all. So in this episode, I wanted to do that. And we're also going to hear from some of the members of our community who I, sent this question out to, what they had to say in recent about abundance. I'll be sharing a quick story as well about some of my own personal experience trying to embrace abundance more and the struggles with that. I by no means claim to be someone who has figured out how to be in abundance mindset all the time. And I think as humans, we're always struggling with how to get there and how to stay there. But there's definitely strategies that can be helpful that we will be talking about. So abundance is really going to look different for everyone, right? Because there's no one definition that fits all. So I can't give you a clear definition of what abundance is, but I can talk about some of the elements of what it means and what it could look like for you. So there's no one definition or picture of what it's going to look like for each person, because ultimately it's about really stepping into your personal power and being connected to that larger universe, that larger flow of energy that is out there, that is always constantly expanding, that is just the nature of the world and of humans and nature and animals, right? We're always growing and expanding. And so it's really about kind of getting in touch. And a lot of what I'm going to be saying in this episode is going to sound super, super woo-woo and out there and maybe even magical, but that's really where what the money mindset territory is about. So like, although I definitely teach very hard skills and strategies when it comes to managing money and investing and business and finance, I always tell our students that the most important part of finances and business is mindset. And it's about trying to get back to that abundance mindset that we're all meant to be in, and to not be living from and making decisions from a place of fear. And it's ultimately about really empowering yourself and reaching your full potential, because in order to do that, you have to tap into your abundance. So before I jump in further, here are some quick things that people in our community said about abundance. There's the full moon coming up in a few days. So I had put a story on Instagram asking people in our community what abundance meant to them and what they were manifesting for the full moon coming up, and got some really cool responses. So Amadrigal096 said, everything abundance, go big or go home, which I love that. Like, she's just like, let's do it. Let's bring it. It's just such an abundant attitude and mindset to have. Fabi.dln said she's manifesting financial knowledge, health, healing, and generational wealth. All such important things that are very interrelated and definitely can be welcomed by abundance. So I love that too. Yasmin 1433, she talked about how she actually rented a telescope to watch the full moon. So no surprise there, because she's a total go-getter, and like, not only is she gonna like be connected to the abundance and the full moon coming and all the good omens that, but she's gonna go get her telescope and go watch it, which I just love. It's so Yasmin amazing. And then she later added, she's manifesting money to fight the patriarchy, which is an awesome example too, because when you're abundant and you have you have all your needs met and your money is flowing to you, you get to decide what to direct it toward. And it can be for a good cause. So it can be for something that you believe in, a big mission. And in fact, we need a lot of resources to actually make change and to make a big mission. So abundance is a huge piece of that. CN Flores09 said, investing in what matters. That's beautiful as well. Thank you for sharing. And then Romy in Florida talked about career growth, and they had 2 job interviews this week. So really, really good intentions. I loved hearing that. If anyone else watching live or on the replay has something they want to share about what abundance means to you, or how you would define it, please comment. I always love hearing it. I can share that out at a later time. And just in general, if you're watching live, you can comment, and so you can say hi, or if you're watching the replay, we can give you a shout out and reach out later. So while there is no one clear definition in my eyes of what abundance means, because it's so personal and it's so energetic, words really can't do it justice. There are some key elements that go into what abundance can mean. I wanted to share as some guidance for you all, and just something that, I've been exploring as I learn more about this topic. Like I said, I'm no expert in how to manifest abundance or be abundant all the time, but I definitely spend a lot of time thinking about it and researching about it so that I can share what I'm learning with our community and with our students, and as they go on their journeys and paths to having more abundant lives. So here are some elements from the British money mindset expert Harriet Hall, who teaches a lot about abundance. She's incredible. Check her out if you haven't already. She talks about how abundance has 2 key elements, and you can't have one without the other. They're both equally important. So one is material abundance, which we all probably can imagine. When you think of abundance, you think of lots of money, maybe a big house, not having to worry about money. So that's definitely a piece of abundance, but it's not the whole story. And a lot of people don't think about this other part, which is spiritual abundance. And Harriet Hall talks about how these need to be actually equally balanced. They're equally as important. And when it comes to spiritual abundance, that really gets into what I was talking about earlier with abundance, that it's about like being connected to that larger universal energy, that where abundance just naturally flows. That's just part of the state of the world. I always tell our students, as a way to explain it, if you think about a wild forest that's been untouched by humans, it's just constantly growing and expanding. It's just exploding with wild flowers and beautiful plants and trees and animals and growth. And this is actually how we are all meant to be. That's why humans always have a desire and thirst to be growing and expanding, and how one of the most dangerous places to be in is in a place where you stop letting yourself do that, or you deny that to yourself, and you're staying where you are and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to grow, because it is so fundamental to who we are as humans and just part of the universe that is constantly expanding. It really goes to our core. So to be in touch with that, and in order to have the material wealth come and the money flow, you have to be connected to that spiritual abundance as well, and have that like growing relationship with that energy that is always flowing. And that can look like lots of different ways. It's very personal, to be different for everyone, but it can look like meditation or religion or yoga, using crystals, having mantras and affirmations, like, journaling. It's going to be different for everybody. But, if you're human, I imagine you know what I'm talking about to some degree. You've probably had some moment in your life where you felt some connection to some higher being or some universal energy that's much bigger than ourselves. And you don't have to believe in God or religion to know what I'm talking about. This isn't about having to be part of a particular religious order, right? It's just about having that kind of connection to something more spiritual and that energy flow, because at the end of the day, money is just energy. Money is just made up, right? And it's a flow. That's why it's called a currency. It's like a current of water that's constantly flowing. And when things get in the way of that current flowing, like if you imagine a large tree that falls on a river and the water can't go over it anymore, becomes like a dam, right? Things stop flowing. And we are like that as well. We need, in order to have abundance, we need to have that energy flowing. And that's when material wealth comes as well. And that can look like, providing value because you're more in touch with your purpose and helping people, right? And then you therefore provide value, and then money flows from that, right? So they all go together. The spiritual and the material wealth are both equally part of abundance. And Harriet also talks about how authenticity and alignment are also important for abundance. When you have authenticity and that you're living your true life and you're doing, what you're meant to be doing, or exploring what that could be, and you're showing up and you're doing it from a place of service to help people, right? And then you're in alignment, like you're in integrity. Your actions are matching that, and you're doing the same thing you're asking of other people to do, that you're helping, you're doing it yourself, right? And you shift the things in your life to be more in alignment. That comes together. So authenticity and alignment add up to start to form abundance. And lastly, she speaks about how you have a right and responsibility to abundance, a right and a responsibility. So not only is it your birthright and you deserve to have it, no matter where you're from, no matter what your immigration status is, no matter how you've grown up, no matter what your environment looks like, and what the people or your family and friends are doing all around you, right? You have a right to abundance because you are a part of that larger universe, and you are a human who is meant to be expanding. So you have a right to abundance, and then you also have a responsibility to abundance. Abundance is not going to just fall on your lap with you passively doing nothing. You have to be intentional. You have to make efforts every day to be in alignment and to be connected to that larger spiritual abundance that's out there, and to be taking actions that that lead to abundance. It's not going to just happen by itself. So that's why it's a responsibility as well. And why, it is needed for you to stand up and become the person you're meant to be so that you can help others and make a difference and carry out your own purpose, right? Which is going to help the larger society and world grow and continue expanding like we're all meant to be doing. So this all leads to added abundance. And that's why when you see people who are like having businesses where they're helping people or making some kind of impact, you see that they have abundance around them, that you can feel that energy. You can see that the money is flowing for them because they're in alignment, right? They're being authentic and they're focusing not just on material wealth, but also spiritual wealth in order to be coming from that place. So we actually already have abundance available to us now. It's really just about learning how you can embrace it and start facilitating it and letting go of the limiting beliefs that can get in the way from you being able to start experiencing your own abundance. So I wanted to share one more quote from a book I just started reading that I thought was really relevant and helpful for this topic. It's the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he talks about how abundance is, he also talks about, just like Harriet Hale, how abundance is not just financial worth. It's also about equal amounts of love and creativity. So that's what she was calling that spiritual wealth, right? In addition to the material, he's talking about it in terms of love and creativity. You can define it however it makes sense to you and use what words make sense, but it's a similar idea that it's not just about the money to be abundant. It's not just about having a fancy house and a nice car. It's about contributing to others. It's about being connected. It's about sharing love. It's about being creative and, fulfilling your purpose. So he talks about how the life-changing secret to really overcoming our limiting beliefs, which he refers to as our upper limit that can hold us back from our potential. He talks about how to be doing that and reaching it. And I'll read a quote from the book. So he says, he's talking about the glass ceiling, and he starts talking about how people who are kind of hitting up against their upper limit, right, and reaching a cap on their potential and self-sabotaging or having limiting beliefs hold them back. He talks about people in that situation are held in place by a single problem, a barrier they didn't know they had. Once they saw the one problem and how to solve it, they were free to go beyond ordinary success to a new and extraordinary level of abundance, love, and creativity in their lives. Once you understand the one problem and how to solve it, you can do far more than increase your net financial worth. You can also make quantum shifts in the amount of love you feel and the amount of creativity you express. So I love that quote because it's just such a nice way to kind of piece together the different pieces and elements I'm talking about here, of what abundance looks like. It's that, being able to tap into levels of abundance through love and creativity and being connected to, more spiritual things as well, and how this can lead to more money and abundance. And so now I just wanted to give now a personal story about some like recent challenges I've personally had with tapping into abundance, because like I said, this is something that no one can stay in all the time. It's impossible to be fully abundant at all times because we're human and humans have emotions and feelings and real life happens, right? And so it's impossible to always be in a full abundance mindset, right? But there's a difference between like the reality versus being in a state where you're in scarcity mindset all the time and it's holding you back from your potential. And we all go through cycles when scarcity mindset's taking over. And I know it very well because I also deal with my very fair share of scarcity mindset that I know has been passed down to me from my immigrant family, from when my great grandparents came here as refugees, fleeing, for their lives with nothing. And ever since then, it's been passed down in generations that we always have to fear not having enough. And that looks like worrying about money a lot, right? Which was one of the things that even first got me into the personal finance space to start learning about it, because it was something I worried about all the time. And I had to learn years later and currently I've had to learn that like that is scarcity mindset playing out, and scarcity mindset holds you back from your abundance, and it holds you back from having a more expansive view and perspective where there's more opportunities, where you are abundantly supported by the universe and all of that. And so something I'm always working on. But here's a recent example of what that challenge looked like for Mao and I, my husband Mao and I, that we have gone through, as a concrete example to make this more clear. So one of our recent experiences in this area was in April of this year, end of April 2021. Mao decided to leave his job and lead childcare for our young daughter, who was a baby at the time, during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time, we were really, really struggling with both working full-time in our day jobs, and watching our daughter by herself and trying to grow immigrant finance. So it got really crazy and unsustainable. And we got to a point where that's what made sense for our family, was for him to leave his job so he could watch our daughter full-time and help grow immigrant finance more. And so while we made this decision intentionally from a place of abundance, because we trusted that this was going to be the right move, and we trusted that we would be abundantly supported, and we only even had this option to consider in the first place because we have an online business and we had other sources of income besides our day job. Although all that was going on and this was an abundant decision, it doesn't mean that it didn't trigger scarcity mindset. So, just 2 years before this moment, we were at a very, very different place. So 2 years before, when Mao left his job in April, I was pregnant and he had been fired from a prior job. He had, well, not necessarily fired, but he like lost the contract. They lost the funding for that job. This was the job before his last job. And I was pregnant and totally freaking out about money and in major scarcity mindset. So a lot happened in the 2 years since then. And we were then in a place where he had a much better job and we had options. We had our online business and he had the option to leave his job, but it still really personally threw me into scarcity mindset for several months, because it just reminded me back to that period when I was pregnant and we had lost a salary and it felt like super unstable. Right. And so it kind of put me in my mind back to struggling a lot financially. And what happened was my brain freaked out and went into total scarcity mindset. I lost completely the abundance that we had tapped into in making the decision. Even though that decision for him to leave was an abundant decision, my brain was like, we just lost a salary, so we're not safe. We're not stable anymore. Even if we were actually okay financially, my subconscious brain like had a lifetime of conditioning telling me that we were no longer safe. And that took me about 4 months to get out of. So totally normal when these things happen for your brain to freak out, even though like my other parts of my brain knew that this was a decision we wanted, that we had made intentionally, that we had a lot of faith and trust in. I still had my brain trying to keep me safe as well and freaking out about it. And it threw me totally out of abundance for a very long time. So what I realized was I had to affirmatively like rewire my brain to get the support that I needed. Rewire my brain to get back to a different way of thinking and not let like those prior fears take over. But I also needed to get the support I needed to get through that period and to be able to keep going forward and not let it like completely throw me off. So the plan that I made was I enrolled in several online courses that were going to be helpful on working through scarcity mindset, and started working with different coaches on money mindset, money consciousness programs and coaches. And I continued with the support systems that I had. So I work with a business coach in a group setting. I kept doing that every week. And I keep doing it. It's always holding me accountable and providing support, pushing me to the next level. And I worked on like positively brainwashing my brain. This is how my coach calls it, positively brainwashing, by just really trying to like read and read books all the time about positive money mindset, follow the mantras, follow the affirmations, listen to the ideas that I really wanted to be embracing, even though my brain was in a different place and my brain was freaking out because we just lost a salary. I knew that there was another way of thinking available, and I just kept showing up every day to kind of like positively brainwash my brain and try to rewire it. And I knew it was going to take time, but I knew there was other ways of thinking that were going to serve me better, because this old way of thinking of scarcity was just holding me back. It was making me freak out all the time. It was making me completely disconnected from abundance and anything spiritual. It was making me worry and have anxiety, and it was taking away from my creativity, and it was really affecting my ability to help my clients to the fullest potential, because I was all focused on me in my head because of this thing that happened, right? So what happened was, like, I had to wait for those things to kick in, because it's not like you start reading the money mindset books and working on a positive abundant mindset and then it happens. It takes time. There's a delay. It's not immediate. And so there were several months that went by when I was understanding these new concepts and other ways of thinking that were going to serve me better, that were a more abundant mindset, but I didn't actually feel it in my body, and I didn't actually like believe the thoughts. So it was a lot of trust and commitment to just continue showing up and continue trying to rewire my brain in that way, to train it and repeat like new habit loops of how I could think differently. If you're interested in this topic of how to like rewire and retrain your brain and form new habits, recommend the book The Power of Habit. It's really, really interesting. And they talk about how it's like actually just kind of like a machine that just needs to be rewired. And like we have to just change the pathways of how our brain thinks in it. And it takes habit, it takes repetition for it to kick in. So kept doing it for several months, kept going through the discomfort. As my students know who do our programs, I talk about discomfort all the time, especially in our business program, that you're going to be really fucking uncomfortable, excuse my language, all the time when you're starting a business, because it's like total uncertainty, right? All the insecurities and fears come out that you have to address to move forward. So yeah, a lot there. But yeah, felt really, really uncomfortable, but just kept showing up and having that desire to want to feel abundant and be in touch with abundance, and having hope that I would be able to get there if I kept trying. And so eventually, after many, many months, it was about 4 months of that practice, and I continued to take steps forward every day, I finally started to like feel some abundance again. And it's like one of the biggest challenges I feel like I've overcome, because like I said, was like rewiring my brain. And this is something I'm going to have to continue doing, because especially like if you're a business owner or you're doing anything that's putting yourself outside your comfort zone and you're having discomfort, like you're always going to experience that every time you up level. It doesn't go away forever. So once you address it, so like the next time you grow again and you go to the next level, your brain's going to freak out, and your brain is going to want to keep you safe, because it's been trained for thousands of years back from early human evolution to like keep you safe, to keep you from getting eaten by a wild animal, to keep you from jumping off a cliff, right? To keep you from touching hot fire. Like that's how our brain is wired, to keep us safe. And having a more abundance mindset is choosing to not let that area of your brain that's always trying to keep you safe dominate and control all of the time, because there's other parts of our brain that can be more forward looking, that can visualize and manifest and create new things, that when you're connected to abundance, that can have more creativity, right? And all of that. And so although my brain and have an anxiety like still continue to have those scarcity thoughts come up, because I'm human, and I'm, that happens to all of us. I've been able to in some ways try to work past that a little bit and start to tap more into abundance again. And this is not the first time I've had to do it. Like I said, it's always a cycle. So what it really comes down to is like learning how to find your way back to a place of trust and faith and being more connected to the universe and that like abundant flow of energy that is already here, that's already available for each of us. And it's difficult work, but it's so worth it, because when you can do that, life is so much better when you can live from more of abundance than from fear and scarcity. And so ultimately, I have had to learn that, the times I've gone through this in terms of business, right, and money, it's for a reason. All of these things we go through, all these challenges are usually for a reason. And one way that I've been seeing it is like, so I can understand better when my clients and our students are going through the same thing, because I've experienced it myself, so that I can be able to teach them what I've learned and understand because I've gone through it, or maybe I'm still going through it and going through it in different ways. And so it's not a one and done thing. Like I said, it's going to keep happening, and it's a constant journey to find your abundance and get back to your abundance, and circle back there when you get thrown back into fear and scarcity and insecurity. But once you start doing it, like the first few times, you start to gain a little confidence that you're capable of getting back there and you can work through it. And I don't know if I can say if it gets easier each time, because especially when you're up leveling, sometimes the fears get bigger. But at least you can have some of the confidence that you've done it before. You've been able to work past it before, and you can turn back to your abundance, and it's worth not giving up. And so that's ultimately, what this is all about, with, discovering abundance, finding your way there, and what I love talking to our students about and helping guide them and get support in. Because as we always say, like, immigrants and their families deserve to have abundance as well. They deserve to be growing and building wealth as well. It doesn't have to be for just certain groups of society. Abundance is available for everyone. It's just going to look different for different people based on what they want. And that's totally personal and has nothing to do with whether you're an immigrant or not. For one person, abundance may look like never having to go to an office job ever again and getting to live in the mountains, right? For another person, it may look like being able to have weekends free when they can just be with their family and their kids and cook together and laugh. Like, that might be complete abundance for them. For another person, it may be like having a fancy beach house and a Ferrari or something. Like, everybody's going to be different what it looks like for abundance. The key is to just know and accept that you get to have that, what it is for you. If you have had the thought of what it might look like or what you might desire, then it is possible. It's available in some dimension. It's already happened and already exists. It's just about figuring out how you can connect that to where you are now, so that you can be able to access that in this moment as well, and be able to embrace the abundance that you deserve. So yeah, for some of our students, I've been able to help like really dig in and work with them on shifting to more of an abundance mindset. That's something we focus a lot on in our immigrant finance school program. It's not just how to invest or how to budget, although we cover all of those things. A lot of it is money mindset and how to let yourself believe that you deserve to have abundance, and then figuring out what are the steps to get there. So we've seen that when some of our students start tapping into this, amazing things happen. It's incredible. Like, we had one student where she really started to understand the mindset stuff, and like out of nowhere, this side hustle fell into her lap where she was going to be getting paid $500 a month every month for doing this thing that she loved, that she like already was willing to do as a volunteer, right? So just an example of what it can look like. We had another student whose business like completely took off the ground when she started to step into her abundance, and she started getting new clients left and right, had to be able to bring in family to help. She's able to leave her job now. So most importantly though, it's like I said earlier in the talk, it's not just about the material wealth and making more money, although those are concrete examples to understand what this can look like. It's also having that spiritual wealth of being connected to that flow of energy and therefore the flow of money. And as Gay Hendricks talks about, being connected to love and creativity. And when you are, that is going to just facilitate more and more abundance. It's like a snowball effect, right? And most importantly, it's about developing the confidence and the trust in yourself and seeing that, you know, you are part of this larger abundant universe and you deserve to have your share of the abundance and be connected to it all and help others, right? It's not about the money. It's about really being in alignment with that and expanding as a person, fulfilling your purpose, all of that. So that was a lot. I know this is very, very woo-woo. Some of you who haven't heard my mindset talks before may be like, what is she talking about? She's crazy. Totally get it if you're feeling that way. I just invite you to like keep exploring this stuff because it's really important. And, you know, people ask like, how to make more money? How do I make money fast? There's no secret fast way to do that with instant gratification. But one thing that definitely does make the money start flowing is this abundance stuff where you can really truly do the self-exploration work to start being more connected to your abundance, and then magic starts to happen, the flow starts to happen. So 3 things that we covered today to sum up is that abundance is both physical, you know, material wealth and also spiritual wealth. We learned that from Harriet Hill. We also learned about from Gay Hendricks how abundance is equal measures, financial, love, and creativity, right? Similar idea there. And then the last piece I just want to add is that it's really a choice. You know, you can live from the scarcity mindset and the fear of not having enough all the time. And oh man, have I been there. And if you heard the story I said earlier in this talk, you know, I was there even recently, and it's always a cycle, right? Or you can choose to go back to the abundance and live a more abundant life and way of thinking, and it just feels better, right? And it's just easier, and it's what we all deserve. So the question I'll leave you all with is, which energy are you going to choose to think, act, and live from, right? And don't let yourself think that you don't get to do it because you're an immigrant or you're a family member of immigrant, or you've never seen anyone in your family or community live like this before. It's already available to you. That's what I'm going to leave you all with today. And if you enjoyed this and you want to do more money mindset work, we would love to work with you. This is exactly the type of stuff we focus on in our immigrant finance school program. We recently redeveloped it to now be a 1-year live group coaching program where we go all in on money mindset, investing, managing money, starting businesses. So we'd love to have you there. You can apply at immigrantfinanceschool.com. And thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.